Welcome to the world of some edibles, where there's a variety of CBD and THC delights. Whether it's cookies, brownies, or rice cereal bars, Some Edibles has what you're looking for. Milligrams of CBD and THC on the label will help you discover your magical number. Not too little and not too much, just right. Order at someedibles.com and use coupon code DRUNKEN for 10% off your order. That's coupon code DRUNKEN for 10% off your order at someedibles.com. Hey everybody, welcome to Drunken Housewife Reviews. I'm Sarah, the Drunken Housewife.
And I'm her host/husband, Ian, who's trying to keep her on the rails best I can.
And it's a full-time job. And tonight we have the one, the only, the fabulous JanessaJaye Champagne.
Hello.
Who needs a theme song? I don't know what kind of theme song, but something fabulous.
Of course, fabulous.
Janessa is a drag performer. She's out of her persona tonight, but still looking fabulous.
Yeah.
You've hosted shows with the I'm gonna see if I pronounce this right, the Boulay brothers.
I hosted their panel, yeah.
Their
so
panel,
when Days of the Dead in Atlanta, I hosted
yes.
a panel with the Boulay brothers.
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
And you, first of all, girlfriend, how are you doing with everything?
Yeah.
That's why it's like, yeah,
Oh
this is going to be a show. How are you doing with everything going on?
The world is on fire. Just keep dancing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wild. North Dakota is wild. I haven't heard any news. There's a bill that's on Governor Burgum's desk today. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot of stress. And I live in one of the little kind of bluish pockets in North Dakota. Okay. So it's not as rough and rural as it is in a lot of North Dakota, but it's definitely, there's some ugly stuff going on over here and around the country, but yeah, definitely one of the spots.
But I just don't get it. It's there's been people wearing drag since there's been any type of fever.
I mean,
so how is people getting there? I don't get it.
Everybody loved the movie with Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. I mean, to go that far back, Some Like It Hot, where they were in drag. Yeah, this is not anything new. And
it's about hating queer people.
Exactly.
When straight men do it, it's fine and it's entertainment and it's part of television history. But when it's actually associated with queerness and it's part of those kinds of communities and comes out of that and supports that, then it becomes a problem.
Yes, because recently, North Dakota, where you're at, passed a record-setting amount of anti-LGBTQ plus bills, including gender affirming medical care for trans teens, the drag bills, saying that kids, trans kids, cannot participate in sports that align with their gender identity. Updating the gender on birth certificates, plus the bathroom bill. Here's what I want to know. Who's checking what I got in my pants to go to the bathroom?
Yeah. And a lot of them are still kind of working through. There are a couple that have kind of finished. The preventing people from respecting pronouns and from allowing schools to do anything to respect people's pronouns, that was vetoed by the governor and it failed when it went back. So that one luckily is one. The ban on trans athletes did go through and Governor Burgum did not. So we're watching you, Doug, but did not veto that one. And the one he's looking at today is the gender affirming care. So there's been a big push on Facebook and Instagram to really kind of make sure that people are reaching out to the governor to let him know that a bunch of farmers from Western North Dakota should not be making medical decisions. That's something that doctors and psychiatrists and parents should be making medical decisions.
Exactly. Because I mean, it is they're trying to slowly
but surely wipe the LGBTQ community out of existence, because one of the groups that has the highest suicide rates are LGBTQIA plus teens. So by getting, saying, well, you can't have this gender affirming medical care, does that include the psychiatric aspect of it that they desperately need? Because, like I said, they are one of the highest suicide rates in this country.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I mean, at this point, the Republicans are just out of ideas. They don't have any ideas. They don't have any platforms. All they can do is be against whatever the Democrats say. And so all they can do is try to rile people up, because Republican policies generally do not benefit the poor and middle class. And so how do you get a bunch of poor and middle class people to still vote for you? You get them riled up about, oh, those queers are taking over. Like they're putting litter boxes in schools, and they're like making everybody have weird pronouns. And
the whole litter box thing just struck our community school system, and
as far as the rumor
whole rumor of it, and I'm like
a rumor,
and I'm like, three things here, people. Number one, name me a maintenance guy that's going to clean out a litter box. They don't get paid enough. They barely get paid enough to clean the toilets.
They're just barely over.
They're not. You put a litter box, they're going to be like, no, out the door. Two, the health department is not going to let that fly.
Oh, no, not at all.
And three, in this like social media world, if there were litter boxes in the bathrooms, there would be Snapchats, there would be TikToks, there would be Instagram.
They'd be like, look me now.
It's
just you would have all that,
and it's just
not there.
It's like common sense has just gone out the window.
It's
just insane.
It's over.
It's insane. But what gets me with the drag bill, I could borrow one of your outfits. And granted, I would not look as fabulous. We're just going to state that. But I could borrow one of your outfits, host a story time for kids, and everybody would be like, oh, look, Sarah's dressed in a really cool costume to host reading time with the kids. You do it, and they're trying to make it a felony, all because of I don't have dangly bits, so it's okay. And it's
here's a good question. I never thought of this before. What if there were some drag king?
They're trying to make that illegal as well.
I've not seen that. Has that been happening?
They don't have as much to say about that, because it's I mean, so much of homophobia is tied up with misogyny. And so that's why it focuses so much on drag queens. So they're certainly going after the drag kings as well. And even, I mean, certainly drag performers are getting this pretty intensely, but a lot of these drag bills aren't even that much about drag. They're about trans people, and they're really about sort of regulating and eradicating trans people, because Republicans and these conservatives that are pushing these more extreme factions, they don't make any distinction between because they're very much about enforcing what they see as the proper gender presentation. So what's the difference between somebody who is in drag, so somebody like me who dresses up and is there in drag, but then you have a trans person that one of these people, they read that person as a man, but who's wearing female attire. That to them is the same thing, and it's not the same thing at all. But it's a way to target them and a way to criminalize them in a way that is, really restrictive and really horrible.
And what gets me is, I mean, I'm just going to come right out and say it. I probably am more masculine than a lot of women. And I have seen trans people who are way more feminine than I am. And you put the two of us together, who's going to check us? Who's going to say that I am feminine enough to go into the women's restroom, but the trans person is not? It's like, I'm sorry. I know people who are transitioning, that are way more feminine than I could ever hope to be.
Yeah, it just depends on the person's judgment, and more than likely it's going to be that filter of men like this, women like this, and then and anything that touches that at all, they're going to flip out. It's like, oh, I don't believe.
And the whole bill of giving school systems the right to inspect genitalia, that's
just,
I'm sorry, but to me, that's child molestation.
Yeah. I mean, for groups that claim that they're trying to protect kids, I mean, a lot of this started for me last year with Pride. There's this group called Protect North Dakota Kids that in the time since they have formed, there have been 3 high profile arrests of men for molesting children, none of which were drag queens. One was a teacher and 2 were youth pastors. So maybe we should be banning churches, but that's a different discussion.
That's a whole nother discussion.
But they claim that it's about protecting children. And then Kansas, I'm so glad that we haven't had a bill like that come through North Dakota. I mean, I don't put it past anybody in North Dakota. I'm not saying that the awful people we have are just as awful as the people other places, but so far that hasn't come here. But it's just ridiculous. So you claim that you want to protect children, but then you also have these bills where you want to inspect their genitals before they play sports. You don't want to give them free lunches. That's something else that North Dakota voted down. They voted against free lunches, and then within like a week or so, they voted to increase state employees per diem for lunches by $10. So we can pay for lunches for legislators, but not for hungry children. That's North Dakota nice.
Yeah, so we want to traumatize them by having them starve and have to submit to genital inspection. But this is all protecting the children.
Them.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane. And I mean, you brought up your whole experience, the Protect North Dakota Kids. Did I get their name right? I want to make sure I get their name right.
Yeah.
Then used pictures without parental permission on their website of children. And when the parents said, hey, take this picture down, they wouldn't do it. And Facebook wouldn't do it. So where's protecting the kids from you?
Exactly.
Yeah. So they went out, they went to a Pride event and they went through the crowd and they got taken out pretty quickly, but they were taking pictures of children at this Pride event, this outdoor Pride event. And then the parents reached out and said, you do not have permission to post pictures of my children. And then they try to claim, well, it was at a public event, you know, being in a public space, that's like permission to publish your photo. No. The legality on that is not very clear. And it's not necessarily saying that you can just repost them, but also your whole group is supposedly about protecting kids.
Yeah.
So when their parents say this is harmful and you are opening us up to harassment, and then they just say, well, doesn't matter.
Too bad. So sad. Yeah. That is just absolutely insane. You know, and the whole event, there is a fabulous picture of you in costume singing on the steps. I love that picture, and we will be, you know, posting that picture. And it's like, that's an example of the costuming. You were covered from here down. I mean, we can see your head and your hands. So, you know, it's like, what part of that is obscene?
Yeah, exactly.
And
no sexualization of that whatsoever.
Yeah, and they get really upset about the people who, like, the bodysuits are a big thing in the drag community. Not me. I'm old. I'm an old drag queen. I've been doing this for more than 20 years, so I'm still the old school, like, gowns and the whole thing.
Sure.
But like now, like the little bodysuits and leotards and things, and so they'll say, well, that's sexual. Well, no, because you put your children in that to send them to dance competitions.
Yeah, dance competitions,
to gymnastics.
Sure.
Thank
all
you.
of these things. It's the same thing. And our performers are wearing like at least 2 pairs of tights, most of them. So like, and some of them have even like arm sleeves that come down. So it's like the only skin you're seeing is their face and their hands.
Yeah,
everything else is covered. It might be skin tight, but it's covered.
Yeah, because the costume, those costumes that you're talking about, again, dance, gymnastics. If your kid is in color guard for band, or anything like that, well, then I guess you also can't take your kids to see Cirque du Soleil at Vegas or any sort of acrobatic, like we go to
or
the
a pool.
circus. Yeah.
Or a
pool,
beach.
Like, you're going to see more skin at the beach, at the pool.
Yeah.
Things like that. So do you not take your kid to the beach or the pool in the summer? Because,
exactly.
let's look at, the Kim K tortilla chip bathing suit that barely covers your hoo-ha and, all of that. I'm sorry, that's more obscene to me, which I'm like, if you have the confidence to wear it, fine, go for it, girl. But if you're looking at just obscenity, which is in the eye of the beholder, that, then you obviously don't take your kid to the beach. You don't take your kid's not in dance class, all of that. But child pageants are okay, where we gloss them up in tons of makeup and poof their hair and make them do these dances and stuff like that's okay. That's not grooming.
That's not grooming exploitation.
But taking them to a brunch where they're going to get a great meal and see some fabulous performers.
Yeah, exactly. That's just,
and who's taking them? That's the thing that is so bizarre about this whole thing.
Because why are you taking them?
This is the party that claims to be all about parents' rights. Parents should have the right to choose this. They should have the right to choose that. Well, do they think that these feral children are just running around looking for a drag brunch?
Exactly.
That's not happening. Their parents are taking them.
Yeah.
So their parents are saying, I find this appropriate, so I'm going to take my child there. So where's all the cries for parents' rights and parents' choices when it comes to this entertainment?
Exactly. They're taking away, our right to, Maddie's an adult now, but, back in the day, if we wanted to take her to, a drag brunch, we probably know some of the performers. One of her godfathers does drag.
Exactly.
So it's where's our choice in that? Where's our choice in taking her? It's a theatrical production.
Exactly. It's
so then you can't go see Lion King on stage because all of those actors that are playing the animals are wearing the bodysuits.
Yeah. And most of these bans are so poorly written that even, in Tennessee, they're working that through right now. And it was a Trump conservative judge who has put a hold on their drag ban because they're this is so poorly written.
Yeah.
That's very.
But didn't they file also that it is in violation of the First Amendment because it is a freedom of expression to be able to perform?
They're taking a lot of tactics to kind of go after that because it is.
I'm if that tactic works, then let's do it.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes, because it is a freedom of expression. That's how you express yourself in performing.
And what is a drag show? Before the Panda, when I was going to Days of the Dead events, I was in drag the whole day and I was walking around the space. So it's okay, so that's not a drag show, but I'm still there in the same costume, the same whatever. And then sometimes there were a few times where I co-hosted the makeup challenge. So is that a drag show? Because I'm performing, where I'm up and I'm talking and I'm telling jokes and, hosting this event. Is that a drag show? So, because a lot of these, they're written because again, they're also targeting trans people, that they're written that it's about drag shows and drag entertainment, but they're written in a way that suggests that just existing in a public space in drag or in what some conservative thinks is not appropriate clothing for your gender, that's what's in violation. And that's why they're having starting to have some of these trouble with the courts, is because they're you're not even clear about what you're talking about.
Because then that affects Comic-Con, Gen Con, because
cosplay.
People, any sort of cosplay, because there are people.
But they can still, even if it was quote drag or not, they could still make that argument because they don't like it.
Yeah, because I don't know how many times at a Gen Con or a Comic-Con, not that I've gone, but friends of mine have gone, and there are people there that are dressed as characters from, shows or anime or whatever that is the opposite gender of what they are, because that's their favorite character. So then is that illegal?
Yeah, exactly.
According to some of these bills, would it be illegal, which would, when you start messing with Comic-Con and Gen Con, you're messing with some money. And
then it'll trickle down to the smaller conventions as well.
To the Days of the Dead. And I mean,
well, and the reality is that they won't probably target those locations because it's not an explicitly queer space.
Exactly.
And that, again, that goes back to what they're trying to do is they're trying to target queer people. So straight men who want to get dressed up and make a mockery of whatever it is, they'll still get away with it and there won't be any problems.
Oh yeah.
But gay bars and gay venues and drag shows, that's what we'll be attacking, is that because we say one thing and then we don't say the quiet part out loud.
Wow.
And so we'll just go after the enforcement will be against queer spaces.
But I mean, my fear is, though, even though that's what they're targeting, when you do the Comic-Con or the Gen Con, there's gonna be that asshole.
Yeah.
That's like, wait a minute, that's a guy dressed up as Princess Leia.
Yep.
And cause problems for that cosplayer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a dog whistle for harassment. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, everybody's like, well, this doesn't affect me because they're just going after the gays. And I'm like, but do you cosplay?
Exactly.
Because who's to say they're not going to come for that next?
Yeah.
Who's to say,
I don't know. I'm sure growing up in North Dakota that you would have somebody who is generally that stupid to not be able to distinguish the two. If you're dressed up like anybody and you're even an actor, you're also considered gay. So you also have that aspect of it too, of more stereotypical feminine blah 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 or whatever, and they just perceive them as being gay and being dressed up. They would target them as well.
Yeah.
So
and then there's
it's going over a whole kind of a weird spectrum of crisscrossing those ideas, and everybody on that side just looks at it and goes, well, that's gay. So it just makes no sense.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like theater productions where the whole line of the Tuna Texas plays, where it's like, Tuna Texas, Tuna Does Vegas, all of those.
Yep.
I've dressed as a male character and a female character. We've had men dressed as male characters and female characters. Would that be okay? Would we still be able to do those plays? Because the theater group here in town that, we're a part of, they work those plays in every once in a while because they love them. I mean, they're fun plays to do. But again, you're going to have men playing women and women playing men. Will that be
and
okay?
shows like Hairspray or Ruthless the Musical or Clue the Musical that have characters that are written explicitly to be drag characters, and there's singing and there's dancing. So is that a drag show now because there's somebody who is a character in drag to play that part? So are they going to have to get licensed as a burlesque venue? That's what some of these states are doing, is that it has to be sort of licensed. And it's like, I was in a production of Hairspray. I played Edna Turnblad, and we had tons of kids that came through. I mean, and we had no complaints. We had no protests. We had no nobody who was concerned about the safety of their children. But we've got an election coming up, and so we've got to distract people from the fact that they're poorer than ever, and that the Republicans are doing nothing to help them not be poorer than ever, and are cutting services and cutting access to any kind of thing that will make life better. And so we have to get them riled up about drag queen story hours. And
because I mean, we know because of Maddie trying to get services for her for her physical disability or her autism, I might as well just be banging my head against a wall, because we're the first people that services get cut for, because
we're not important.
We're not. It's like, why help out people who are physically handicapped, people who are aging, people who have intellectual disabilities? Now let's just cut those services and line the pockets of
it's like, so blatant, it just boggles your
Yeah.
mind.
But let's get people's attention away from that. And oh my God, the LGBTQ community is coming for your kids.
Yeah.
No, they're
Well,
not.
they have to keep people angry, and they have to keep people kind of stewing about something, because otherwise, I mean, if people take 2 seconds and really look at what that party is doing, I mean, they're the party that claims to be pro-life, and they clearly don't care about anybody after they're born.
Exactly. They're pro-birth.
Anything. They're pro-birth, forced birth, and that's it. And then you're on your own. You better pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and we don't have to worry that you have food or shelter, or that you're not being abused, or that you have any access to medical care, health care, anything. We don't care. Good schools. We don't care that you're able to like access a library and read a book.
Exactly. And but you can read a book, but only the books that we approve of, only the books that we think you should read. And it's like, as a kid who at a very young age was reading Stephen King, because my parents were like, okay, because they know if they were like, no, you can't read that book, then I would just sneak it and read it in the dark of night under my covers, because I am a devious, I was a devious little shit. I'm not a devious little shit anymore.
There's a county in Texas that just their book ban was overturned by a judge, and so I saw this article, and I haven't heard any follow-up about it, but they were going to have a special meeting to decide whether the library should just cease operations. And so, like, talk about just acting like children about, well, if we can't, we're going to take our toys and go home, and like if
it's insane.
If we can't get rid of the bad gay books, we'll just get rid of all the books. And it's just like, what is your problem? Like, what happened to you? Seriously, what happened to you?
Who hurt you? You? You can tell us.
Oh my gosh.
Safe space. Who hurt you? But I've been kind of laughing at the GOP recently with everything that they tried to do in Tennessee with expelling, the representatives. And they're like, oh, it wasn't racially motivated, but the white woman stayed in. But
they're like, oh, there's no problem with racism. But then there were 3 people who participated in the protests. They expelled the 2 black men and not the white woman. And it's like,
yes. And I love the fact that the Democrats were like, that's okay, because we can appoint whoever we want to fill those seats until the election. So guess who's coming back? And I mean, all they did was piss off the new generation of voters.
And there are some Republicans in Tennessee who are saying that. They're saying, you guys did this, and now you have energized young voters against us. And so maybe that was not the best course of action to take.
It's like there's a whole new generation of 18-year-olds that are going to be voting in May, and you done fucked up, Aaron. You know what I mean? It's all you've done is you showed them how the system works, and they didn't like how the system works, so now they're going to try to vote in a new system, a new, and it just amazes me. I wish I could say it amazes me, but at the same time, it doesn't. It saddens me.
Having to grow up with all this and it just doesn't. They don't seem to progress any farther than what they can actually see in front of their face, and it's their own little world, and you're not fitting in their little world. So I'm going to try to make you fit my little. I don't know how anybody does not progress past that and just become somebody who's empathetic and human. I just don't get it.
Well, their policies don't support empathy. I mean, that's the thing about what they're pursuing now, is that nothing, and that's why they're trying to get rid of all this stuff, and that's why they're trying to stir up all this emotion about things that don't matter. And that's why they want to get rid of books, and that's why they want to get rid of critical race theory, because anything that's going to build empathy in young people, they're going to see, oh, that's oppressive. That's something that is negative. That's hurting people. we shouldn't be doing that. And so empathy is incompatible with what the GOP has become in today's world.
Exactly.
And I think that it's harmed by the fact that, I mean, there have always been stupid people. Certainly these kinds of things are not new. There's always been stupid people, but there really was a kind of change in tone after Trump got elected, because stupid people used to have to feel a little bit of shame.
Oh
It was something where
A little
people would
bit.
be like, what are you talking about? What's wrong with you? But it became okay to just be stupid at the highest levels. And now we're reaping the benefits of that, of they've just let the stupid people completely just
Take
go
over.
wild and out and just
Yeah.
not feel any shame, not feel like they have to tone anything down.
Well, that, and we're allowing that blurring of the line of the separation between church and state.
Yep.
A lot more, laws are trying to be passed based on somebody else's religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what about this religion where, they
all want a mix of religion and state, but when it actually would be implemented
benefits
to
them.
the point
Yeah.
where they would be cross-firing each other, that'll be interesting to see, because I'm sure it will come up amongst whatever specific religion, let's just say Christianity. But anyway, you see what I'm saying? It's gonna be, they don't get that there's more than one of you out there, even though you're supposed to be both in the same religion per se.
It's
they fundamentally misunderstand what freedom of religion means, that it's also freedom from religion.
Exactly.
So if I don't practice your religion, I don't have to adhere to the tenets of your religion, because I also have freedom of religion. So if my religion is to be non-religious, that's also protected. If I am Wiccan, if I'm pagan, if I'm Muslim, if I'm Jewish, whatever my personal belief system is also protected. They think that it's just like, no, it's whatever my thing is, and screw all the rest of you. And it's like, no, that's not how it works.
No.
There are limits to where your freedoms are. If you want to, and I've always said this about these stupid people and these bigots, is that if you want to be ugly and bigoted and nasty when you're at home, I'm not going to tell you that you can't do that. I'm not going to tell you that you can't. It would be great if we could all just hug and cry and learn and grow, but I know that there's always going to be people that hate queer and trans people. And if you want to hate queer and trans people, that's fine. You go ahead and do that, but you get to do that at home. And if you start doing that out in public and you get pushback and you get canceled and you get whatever it is, then you deserve that, because there are limits to where that goes.
Oh yeah.
You don't get the right to impinge on other people's ability to have their thoughts and feelings and experiences respected. So you deserve some repercussions for that. You deserve to have to take accountability. So go be hateful and ugly at home and just leave the rest of us alone.
I know. It's like, go crawl into your corner and just, we'll be all fine.
Go back to your hole.
Yeah. But I frequently, will look at him and I'm like, oh my God, because my dad taught US history and government for 36 years in at the high school level. And his big thing was, he truly believed in that Churchill quote of, you have to learn from your history so you don't repeat it. Like, those who don't learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. And I know right now he would be like, well, shit, here we are. Because, not to say the words, but we're repeating history with the banning of the books, with the
taking the 80s,
the taking away the rights of the women, with, you start looking at everything they're banning and everything, all the rights that they're trying to take away and all of that. And I'm not saying that we're back in 1930s Germany, but it's looking real familiar.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that now it's become so commonplace for so many people to say, oh, this is just like this is just like this, that it becomes trite to say it. But it's also like, no, if you actually look at what happened at that time in history and look at the kinds of things they're doing now, they're doing the same kinds of things. Like, these are the same steps that were taken. And so it is a legitimate comparison, but it's become so, if you're on faux news, then you're just going to compare things like, oh, it's a blah 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 about the war on Christmas and all this kind of stuff, and comparing it to that time period, and it's like that's not what that
That's
is
not,
about
yeah.
at all.
No,
There has never been a war on Christmas. Saying happy holidays means I'm realizing that you celebrate Christmas, but the person behind you celebrates Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Or pick a holiday that happens in December, because I think there's like,
if there's a war on Christmas, Christmas is winning, because that shit is in stores starting in August.
I know.
So I don't know. I don't know what they're talking about.
I know. It's
They're
like,
winning.
sooner take down the Halloween decorations than, you've got Christmas trees coming up, and yeah, I love Christmas. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
And I'm a Halloween fan, so I was like, let me tell you, when I see Christmas decorations show up in a store before Halloween, I'm like, somebody better hold me back, or I'm gonna burn this place down.
Oh, I know. I mean, I love Halloween and I love Christmas, but I'm like, I need that separation, that Thanksgiving. Give me till, the middle of November before you start bringing out the fa la 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 la, okay? Because I'm still on, Kidnap the Sandy Claus and Oogie Boogie. I'm not ready for the trees and the, la 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 la. But it's just the world today is why I drink.
You say have your own Bud Light.
This whole podcast started because I got drunk at Biden's inauguration, watching Biden's inauguration and railing on the previous administration and everything that had happened January 6th. And he's like, we should do a podcast where you get drunk and just talk about stuff. And I'm like, sure.
Let's do it.
Why not? Let's do it.
I like it. Well, and the whole thing with Bud Light too, that it's so ridiculous. And I think that that's what people need to talk about with a lot of this, is that there's so much, that's their emphasis now, is especially so much on trans people, because Bud Light has been doing Pride events and has been sponsoring Pride and doing Pride related ads for years. They've had rainbow bottles and all kinds of things. And now what they're upset about is that they had a trans spokesperson. And so I think that because it's something even within our community, LGBTQ people, we're not always very good at being allies to each other. Yeah. And I think that that's something we need to focus on, is like, I live in North Dakota, and let me tell you, there's a whole lot of white gays here who don't get it. And it's just like, you need to step it up. You need to, you're watching RuPaul's Drag Race all the time. Well, then the terminology, and it's time for you to step your pussy up, because you need to get what's happening. And just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean that it's okay that it happens. And like, we need to be better allies to each other, and being allies to other people within our communities.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're trying to take away the rights of the LGBTQIA community. They're trying to take away women's rights. Well, they have. And, there are straight white men who are like, well, this doesn't affect me. I'm like, it's gonna affect you, because eventually they're going to want to take away something that you care about. And by then it's going to be too late, because they've already done this and this and this.
Exactly.
And I know there are a lot of people, when I bring up, the anti-abortion bills, they're like, well, you're in your 50s. What do you care? And I'm like, but I have a child who's in her 20s, who's physically handicapped and autistic. And eventually I'm not going to be able to take care of her. Eventually she's going to have to go into a facility, and God forbid somebody does something to her. What a pregnancy will kill her. A pregnancy will kill her. And the way that a lot of these bills are written, by the time somebody figures out what's going on with her, according to these bills, it's going to be too late.
Yeah. And that it's not just about abortion. It's about body autonomy.
It is.
And so everybody has a body. So at the root of this is just saying that you should have the right to control
your body,
what happens to your body, and your own medical decisions. And, you should be able to consult with a doctor and do what's best for your health and your experience and all of that. I mean, nobody should be dictating that for you.
Exactly.
That's not what should be happening.
Exactly. Because, they're acting with some of these laws, like for trans youth, like somebody's taken their 4-year-old in and saying, well, Billy's really a girl, so we're just going to start. No, that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
No, we're not taking 4-year-old Billy in there and chopping off his wee-wee.
Exactly.
No, it's, yes, you start noticing at that age that your child may be identifying with another gender. But there's there's a whole process before you can even get to the hormone replacement. Psychological evaluations and therapy, and then presenting for X amount of time. There are all of these things you have to go through before you even get to take the hormone treatments.
And that's what they're really trying to obscure. And they're blatantly lying to people.
Oh, yeah.
That with children, transitioning is a social process.
Yes.
At most, if you have children who are near puberty, at or near puberty, there may be puberty blockers. That's kind of what's typically happening. But we're talking about things like how people dress, how people present themselves, the pronouns that they use, they're being able to choose the name that they want to be called. And that's why they're also attacking pronouns and chosen names and birth certificates and all of that. And I saw a great episode of Oprah where they had different parents on who were dealing with children who were very young that were claiming that they were trans. So, and there was one family in particular that it was such a great moment because it was this couple and they had a boy that signed male at birth, and their child kept saying, I'm a girl. I'm supposed to be a girl. I'm a girl. Stop calling me a boy. I'm a girl. And they were like 4 years old. And there was this, and the dad was having a really hard time with it. And the mom was like trying to be supportive, but then the dad would shut it down. And so they went on and they were saying like, I can't understand this. Like, I know that I should be trying to be more open to this. And there was an expert who said, here's the deal. They said, with a child this young, we don't know what's going to happen. They said, it roughly shakes out to maybe when you have a case like this young, a third of them are going to grow up and it was just a phase where they're trying to figure out gender and they'll go back to presenting in more traditionally male, masculine ways. A third of them may end up being gay. This is their way of kind of trying to figure out their orientation towards other people. And a third of them will actually be trans. And that may be something that they transition in the future. And they said, we don't know. But what we do know is that you can control what kind of relationship you want to have with your child. Do you want to have a relationship that is about conflict and about they feel not supported and not loved by you because you can't listen to what they're telling you? And we know that that can impact suicide rates. It can impact depression and mental health issues. So that's what you can decide. You can't decide which of those three categories they're going to fall into. And you can say, well, I'm not going to support them, so it'll be a phase and they'll go through it. No, you don't know which of those three boxes they're going to fall into, but you can decide whether or not that child is going to have a relationship and is going to feel like you loved and supported them when they were growing up. That's what you can. And it was a real turning point for him of like, oh shit, yeah, that is what I'm doing to my child. Like I think I'm being helpful and I'm not.
Exactly. I know we recently, well, not recently, but in the show The Orville, I don't know if you watched The Orville.
I haven't.
There is an episode called The Tale of Two Tulpas. And basically in the Orville, there is a race that is male. Everybody's male. But every once in a while, you have a defect where the baby is born female and you correct the defect by having surgery and making them male. And this happened to one of the crew members and his spouse, where their child was born female, and there was a whole fight because one of them wanted the surgery, one of them didn't, and it was a whole fight. And then they ended up not having that choice because their culture took that away from them, basically, and they had to have the surgery. But there's a follow-up episode, and I'm going to cry even talking about it because it shredded me. It shredded my soul. Because
did a very good job.
They did an excellent job.
Everything.
And it was a great, I think, representation of what a trans person feels, what a trans person thinks. Because in there, she is like well, at the time it's he, but you know, is crying about, I just feel different on the inside than I am on the outside. And I just feel wrong on the outside. And, you know, and if anybody wants to know what they're thinking, what they're feeling, watch that. If you're a sci-fi fan, watch that, because they did an excellent job of, I feel, of representing what somebody thinks, what somebody feels about, you know, the gender identity conflict within themselves.
And I think that, you know, related to the surgeries, you know, they're talking about these surgeries that don't exist for as if trans children are being given surgeries.
Yes.
But they're not talking about surgeries that are given to intersex children.
Exactly.
That, you know, there are children who are born who are intersex, and there are surgeries that are done to correct them, sometimes without the parents' knowledge.
Yes.
And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's saying that that's a problem.
Parents.
Yeah.
They're told it's
oh my God,
like a urinary tract something, because that's
technically
area is affected. But and intersex people can be born with a complete male genitalia, but also have a functioning uterus.
Well, what's crazy is that,
and it's like,
I've been listening to this biology doctorate, postdoctorate, and he's talking about how, as a researching biology, they're finding in the human being all these different variations of sex, as far as like hormones, this, that, and the other, and the hardware, blah blah blah, and software, and it's like a lot more than they ever imagined it was going to be. And then you have to break that down to whichever one of those combinations turns to whatever gender that they prefer, or non-binary, or whatever.
So it's like, who's to say that those genetics haven't like gotten mixed up? I mean, genetics is a field that is just absolutely insane. And you could be born presenting male, but everything else about you is screaming female, or the opposite.
Well, and you have all these Republicans that are shouting about, you need to listen to the science. Like, why are you trying to argue with science? And it's like, then you have scientists who are like, that's not what science is.
Then
science
it's like, but you're
not
ignoring
like this.
Because scientists are like, you're not listening to the science, because here we presented you, like he said, all of these studies, and you're just like, oh, that's hokum.
Well, nature doesn't really naturally support binaries. It just doesn't. Nature supports spectrums. And so all of this stuff, then humans took that and like tried to make some sort of we squeezed it down into a binary and said, well, these things are kind of similar to each other, so let's call all of that female, and let's put this over here and call all of this male. But it's always been a spectrum, and there's always been, you know, and so they'll tell you like, well, what are you basing your like follow the science on? Is it on chromosomes? Because first of all, who has been tested to know what their chromosomes are of anybody? I mean, I've never heard of people doing that. But even if you did, there's more than just XX and XY. There's XXX, there's XYY. And sometimes there's just X. There's all these different variations that can happen. Okay, sex. There's different ways, you know, with intersex conditions. There's a whole spectrum of how that can present and what that can look like. And so people are just saying like, oh, follow the science, when they don't actually
follow the
understand
science. Because I know a lot of people's minds were blown, you know, and I always try to bring it back to something in entertainment that people could be like, oh yeah, the original Jurassic Park, they screwed up because they didn't study the genetics of what they were throwing into the DNA. And, you know, there's, you know, Alan going, well, you use the DNA of this frog that can switch sexes. If they find themselves in a predominantly female, you know, grouping, then some of them will spontaneously change to male so that they can reproduce. Or
it's really
if it's predominantly male, they'll switch to female so that they can reproduce. And then you have the whole, you know, worms are asexual and they can still produce with each other, it's like you're ignoring nature is out there smacking you in the face with it.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. Steven Spielberg, for crying out loud, showed you an example in Jurassic Park. Hello.
Nature will
find a way.
Nature will find a way.
Exactly. And that's what I think we as humans are doing. Nature is finding a way. All of these, centuries of people not being born into the right body, that we didn't have the science, the medical, science to help them.
And most groups would not have recognized it as well.
But now it's like nature's finding a way. And
yeah,
I don't know.
Even that sort of terminology of like the wrong body. I mean, our bodies are our bodies. We're in this body. That's kind of what we're stuck with. And so who's to decide that some modifications are okay? I mean, my body, the way that I was born, if I take these off, I can't see shit. I couldn't drive myself home. I'd get into an accident.
Exactly.
So this is a modification that I'm doing because this makes my life livable. This makes my life worthwhile. My hair obviously does not grow this color, but I like how it looks when I bleach it. Now, right now, we're kind of in the middle of a thing. So I don't love it, but I like when I have blonde hair. So I give myself a modification. Pierced ears, all different kinds of plastic surgery. People are doing all kinds of modifications. So who gets to decide that some people get to have their modifications and some people don't? People who can't get erections. Sorry, that's nature. That's the body that you were born into. I'm sorry you can't get an erection. You don't get to have Viagra. You don't get to have all these other things because that's a modification. So you little limp dick Republican, get out of here. I don't want to hear about your modification. That's against God.
Yeah, exactly.
If God wanted you to have a boner, you'd have a boner. So take that home and see how you like me imposing religion on you.
Yeah. Of course, conversely, then they're like, oh, yeah, it's okay for, Joe to have his boner pills. But God forbid Susie wants to take birth control to prevent a pregnancy that could kill her.
Yeah.
When Joe decides to drop by on Saturday night and the condom fails.
Yeah.
It's just, Maddie takes the Depro shots, mainly because we just wanted to stop her cycle altogether. And I'm like, is that going to be, because for her it's a whole thing of hygiene, because cleaning her and all of that is hard to do. I'm not even gonna lie, it's hard to do. We went through several before we got to do the solution of the shots, and it was absolutely insane.
So 4 to 6 days is like,
and it's like, we do it for her health.
It really is.
So, and there are other women out there that, they want to have their tubes tied because they know they don't want children. If they have children, it could kill them. Yet the way laws are written, you have to be like over 25, already have kids, and your husband's permission in some places.
That's
before, but he can go in and get snipped.
He gets snipped. Nobody cares.
Now,
I'm the guy.
And they made me sign something saying I was aware of it, but I was not giving permission
per se.
And I was like, why do I? And they're like, well, we've had guys that come in and get snipped without their wife's knowledge, and then the wife tries to sue us. So, and I'm like, but if I wanted to get my tubes tied, he has to give his permission. And they're like, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And it's insane. But and it's like,
and people want to talk about the sanctity of marriage, and it's like, first of all, how about you marry somebody that like you can actually have that conversation with? Like the larger question goes back to if you're like sneaking around to get a vasectomy behind your wife's back, why are you married to them in the first place? You should be able to have those conversations. Like, That's a problem with your marriage. That's not a problem with people should be able to get a vasectomy for whatever reason they want. They should be able to get the type of birth control that they want without having to like get anybody else's permission, explanation, whatever it is. Nobody needs to even be made aware of it. If you've got someone in your life that should know about that, you should have already had that discussion with them.
Exactly. And it's like, I mean, and then again, it goes back to body. This is my body. If I want to have an IUD and tattoos and ear piercings and dye my hair whatever color, it's my body. I should be able to do that. Now, granted, with the hair color, I'm always like, look at him going, what if I went blue? And it's not necessarily wanting his permission, just letting him know I'm thinking about blue. And if I want to do it, I'm doing it. But here's your opportunity to tell me your thoughts on it. Not that I'm gonna.
That's my input.
Not that I'm gonna. And he's always like, "It's your hair. You do with it what you want, But and
so I can imagine if you colored your hair purple or pink, I wouldn't love you no more.
And it's been those colors.
That kind of thinking is like what?
But this is my body. This is his body. And as long as, what we do to our bodies is not physically harming you in any way. Like if I have spikes in my head and then I'm using them to kill people, okay, that's an issue that we need to take up, but that's a whole different. But if you have spikes in your head and you're just rocking it because your name, everybody calls you Spike and you want the spikes in your head, go for it. I'm like, what is what I do with this affecting anybody in Congress right now? It's not, and if somebody
are still in the closet,
well,
that's a whole other thing.
I really think a lot of them are one good man away from realizing their full potential, but that's a whole other subject.
If I was 19 and skinny, can I tell you the way that I would be walking around that North Dakota Capitol in a little pair of Daisy Duke shorts and a MAGA hat? And I would be fucking all those closeted Republicans, and I'd be taking pictures, and I would out every single one of them. I am so against outing unless you are somebody who is actively working against the right of queer people. Then I'm like, you need to get outed. And I'm like, twinks assemble. Like, you need to get out there. You need to start doing the Lord's work.
That's why
these Republicans.
Was it anonymous or who was it? It was like some hacker group.
Oh, it was anonymous.
Was it anonymous? Sure. That was like they were going to reveal Grindr accounts.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I hope they do.
There was part of me that was like, man, that should just be between you and your Grindr date. But then again, if you're on there and you're actively voting against the people that you're trying to pick up,
exactly,
and Humpty Hump on Saturday night, then Anonymous is doing the good works in my viewpoint. It's
because no matter what happens with all of this stuff, the people who are at the top are not going to be affected. That's the way that it always works out. Rich men are always going to be able to get their mistresses abortions.
Exactly.
What it's going to do is it's going to impact lower income people. And so I absolutely think if you're in a voting position and you are actively working against your community, there deserves to be accountability, and people should be able to know who you are, and know what you're up to, and know that you are a hypocrite.
Exactly.
Out them all. I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, when the whole Ashley Madison thing went down, I was like, at first I was like, but then I'm like, you know what? They're all married men who are on Ashley Madison looking for a date for Friday night when they're in New York on business and the wife is home in, Podunk, Oklahoma. So, okay, you deserve to be outed. Sorry.
Yeah. Because that's what I've never understood, something like that. And a lot of this even still relates to all this queer stuff as well, is that all of this stuff about we're going to go after the other woman and we're going to call her a homewrecker and a whore and all this kind of stuff.
It takes two.
She's not part of your marriage. She didn't make a vow to anybody. She can fuck whoever she wants. You should be getting mad at your husband, because he's the one who stood in front of a judge or a justice of the peace or a priest or wherever you went and said, I'm going to make these promises to you, and broke those promises. That woman didn't make a promise to nobody. She can fuck whoever she wants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, I'm sorry, but Janice in New York was just trying to find, a date with no commitment,
Yep.
just for some fun times, whatever. And if your husband lied and was like, yeah, I'm single and ready to mingle, that's not on Janice.
No.
That's on Fred. And only Fred. And, Fred needs kicked to the curb. But
yeah.
But yeah. The world today is why I drink.
It's on fire. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm looking at my notes,
Oh, a quick aside.
Oh,
I did see on Facebook where they had on eBay, they're touting this as pre-gay Bud Light that they're selling.
What I love though is if you read, and I know that's hard for some people to read and put all the words together and understand them.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Light made one can with Dylan's face on it and gave it to Dylan.
To her.
Yeah.
And that was the only can that they made with Dylan's face on it.
Yeah, it was part of an ad that they did.
All of the cans you see in the store are looking like this. No rainbows, no nothing. Because I specifically went store to store to store to store because I'm like, I want the rainbow one. I want the rainbow one. Now, granted, I'm in Indiana, which is so red it looks like we're bleeding all the time. But even then, I can find Pride stuff during Pride Month. And then I was like, why can't I find any? And then I read the article where it's like, we made one can with Dylan's face on it for Dylan.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not something.
And if you look in June, there'll be rainbow again, and and then everybody's like, we're gonna drink Coors instead, and Coors was like, hold the phone.
Yeah,
we're also all about Pride, so maybe not. Maybe fuck you.
I'm just waiting for Dry June to happen for all of the homophobes who cannot find any kind of beer that does not support, the rainbow mafia.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Somebody said Legitibitiqua.
Yeah, Legitibitiqua.
I haven't heard that one.
You've not heard that one? Yes. Yes, this woman's like, I'm going to assume you're a Legitibitiqua unless you come out to me as straight. And I'm like, I like that. I'm just going to assume everybody is Legitibitiqua unless they come out to me as straight. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What I don't understand is that in the process of, let's just say they don't like the Bud Light. And even if they didn't come out as, being pro blah, 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 during the process of this becoming your beer, more than likely there has been somebody part of that community who has handled getting you that beer. Yeah. And so these people that you don't like helped you get a beer. So why are you mad? That makes no sense. They don't understand the whole.
And they're not very good at like protesting or boycotting. And so because they want to make these big displays, so they like buy a bunch of Bud Light and then shoot it with guns. And it's like, you just bought a bunch of Bud Light. Like they got your money. They don't care what you do with it.
Yeah.
It's piss water. They don't give a shit. Like shoot it with a gun, drink it, pour it down the drain. Nobody cares. They got your money.
Yeah, so, exactly. That's what cracked me up. It's like all these people making a big show and dumping it all out of their fridge and all of that. I'm like, but you already paid for it, or burning their what was it, Nikes or what? They already got your money.
Buying expensive clothes and sometimes they'll buy stuff just to be part of the protest.
And it's like
you don't get it.
Yeah. So I know. Stupidity is just stupidity and hatred are kind of like in this weird marriage.
Yeah.
Where you're too stupid to realize that you're hateful, and you're too hateful to realize that you're stupid. And so it's just this weird amoeba relationship that because it just cracks me up. Yeah, the whole Kid Rock, and then everybody's like, but wait a minute, kid. Isn't this you sitting next to a drag queen drinking a Bud Light back in the day? I'm confused. Which way are we going here, kid? And then I love the people that are like, he's still alive?
that was a big part of it.
I thought he died?
Yeah, they're like, so we thought he was dead like in the 2000s.
Yeah.
It's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
These things still doing around.
There was a meme where they said something like Kid Rock looks like Dr. Phil trying to dress up as Kid Rock for Halloween.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's just, it's insane. It's insane. This is usually the point where we let you promote whatever you have going on, your website. You've got a website, you've got YouTube, you're everywhere. You are everywhere.
Yeah, I've been kind of in somewhat of like a seclusion. I haven't been doing as many live events
Totally
since the
understandable.
Panini got pressed, but I've been sort of venturing out. So I've started doing some more shows. I'm the show director for our Dakota Diva shows in Bismarck. So if you're in or around Bismarck, you can look for a show there. But I am online quite a bit. So you can follow me on Instagram at JanessaJaye Official. I have a YouTube channel, which is JanessaJaye Champagne. And I also have my website, which is JanessaJaye.com. And we do makeup reviews, some movie reviews, different kinds of things, photo galleries, all kinds of fun stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I recently did a piece about Smile. If you haven't watched Smile, I think everybody should watch that.
Yes, it's on our list.
It's amazing. It's the kind of horror that I hate watching, but it was so well done, and like the idea behind it is so good that I just like I have to wait, because it's that stuff where like something will be far away and then like comes at the camera like all weird and like really fast, and or like jump scares and like all that. I don't normally like The Conjuring, and I don't like that kind of stuff. And they like hold a shot for a really long time because you know something's going to jump at you, but it's still awful. And I usually hate that, but the movie is all about trauma and all about what happens when you don't process trauma and when you just try to tough it out. It's the underlying kind of message that's in it is so good and so smart. So if you'd like to read more of my thoughts about Smile, you can go to JanessaJaye.com and check that out. And
cool. So have you first of all, Smile's publicity campaign was genius, where they just paid people to stand in a crowd, just I'm like, that is so simple and so effective,
so creepy,
and just awesome. So have you seen Cocaine Bear yet?
I haven't. It came out on Peacock today, so I was like, I know I'm going to enjoy this, but it's like it's one that I want to wait till it's on streaming. So I was like, I'll watch it on Peacock.
I'm glad we saw it in the theater, but it was like $5 movie day. So, but yes, watch it, know it, live it, love it, learn it. You're going. I mean, seriously, it's Ray Liotta's last role. And he eats it up. I mean, he just every scene
he was just a really good parody of his persona and playing these characters all rolled up into one. So he did a very good job at parodying himself like William Shatner does.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has that same kind of awesome self-awareness.
Yes. It's just and the unrated of Megan is also on Peacock.
I was a little bit disappointed. I thought there would be more because my mom and I went to see that in the theater, and then I was watching it and I was like, that TikTok, the dance took off on TikTok, and so they really they had to dumb it down and take out some of the gore to get rid of it. I thought it was going to be much more added back in than there was. And so I liked that they had all that extra stuff and they added back in and made it a little bit gorier and a little bit more of that adult level. But I thought there could have been more. I was like, I really expected that there was going to be more stuff in there that was added back in, but it was still good. But
and
more.
So your viewpoints, I mean, there's definitely going to be a sequel to that one.
Yeah.
Because they left it wide open. Yeah.
The menu, I love the menu. I haven't written anything about the menu yet, but that's another one that I think is really, really good. That's my tagline for YouTube is I'm North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And so we talk a lot about horror movies. We talk a lot about makeup, talk a lot about pop culture. And I am a nerd. I love breaking things. I was an English major, so we love to rip everything apart until nobody can enjoy it any longer. And that's our favorite thing to do. So we love to analyze and compare and contrast and all that. So there's going to be a lot of that on my YouTube channel and also on my website. So
and we can tell you if you played video games back in the day, the Mario movie.
Yep.
Is awesome because there are so many times when you're like, oh, that's from, oh, wait a minute, that's from, oh, wait. I mean, there's a lot of scenes where you're like,
they actually did a good job bringing.
They give little and Jack Black.
Yeah, and he was better than I thought it was going to be.
Like Jack
because
Black.
Yes, and he's written the banger for the summer. Yes, he has written the banger for the summer with the Peaches song. Look it up because they did a whole video.
Yeah, I'll have to check into that.
And it's Jack Black at his finest. I love Jack Black. So anyway, I think this is where we're going to leave you because
good.
It's Friday night. I'm pretty sure you have some kind of plan in mind.
Well, I'm still at work for a couple more hours, so I just took a little break out of work to come on. So I'm in my office / studio right now. So
we appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you giving us a few moments of your time to discuss all of the
of course
rampant insanity going on in this world. It's just I was like, I've got to get you on to discuss it, and I could seriously drink many margaritas and discuss with you more. We've got to get together sometime.
I need to get out into the world again. I need more adventures.
I say either that or I still have free flight. I could fly to you.
Yeah.
And you could pick out my makeup and we could do a whole,
Yeah, that could be a fun thing. Drag queen makeover.
Yeah. Get drunk and do makeup and just discuss shit, which is always fun. Always fun. Anything else you need to promote, or have you kind of promoted yourself out?
No, that's I don't have anything coming up until Pride, and so they're still in the process of figuring out what that's going to look like. And of course, there's still some bills that are going through that haven't gotten up for a vote. They got pushed off and delayed. So
God only knows.
So who knows what it's going to look like? Maybe I'll be talking to the FBI again. That was my fun last year, Pride, as we got death threats and.
Wow.
I say you got doxxed. And
I got doxxed. We got death threats. I had to talk to the FBI. I had to talk to the Department of Labor.
Did they at least send you a good-looking FBI agent? I mean, did you at least get one? That
it was just on the phone, so I don't really know. But
because if they could at least send you one that's good-looking and smells good,
Yeah.
That's all the girl needs.
Compensation.
That's all the girl needs.
Send me a little Fox Mulder action. I can take that.
Oh, that lower lip of his. I'm gonna chew it. Anyway, but I love my husband.
It's all good.
That's all good. So yes, we will have to figure out just seriously how to get together and drink and just have fun.
That's good.
So yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show. Go finish your work day. And hopefully, I don't know. I don't even know what to hope for anymore.
Make it to the next day.
Something. Just every day, yeah.
Hopefully you're not having to do drag the speakeasy times during Prohibition where you had to have a special knock and it's in somebody's basement.
Oh my gosh.
You have the bouncer at the door and all that. Yeah. Hopefully we don't go back to that, but
yeah. Well,
I had to laugh because they were so mad that and one of the big things that's been part of the discussion of this drag bill is that we dared to have a drag show on the steps of the Capitol. And I was like, I didn't want to have that fucking show on the steps of the Capitol either, because it was 98 degrees outside and 35-mile-an-hour winds. The reason why I don't have a wig on in that picture is that my wig was blowing across the steps while I was performing.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like you
we agree on that. We shouldn't do it outdoors. I'm a fan of
I wanted it in air conditioning.
That's when you'll remember.
Yeah, but
definitely when
you got that fabulous picture of you that I absolutely love and adore.
That's worth every penny.
Yes. So, well, hopefully you're not made illegal soon. If
I take up a life of crime, I'll let you know.
Yes, let me know. So. Remember, I do not have bail money.
Yeah.
So good luck, and we'll see you next time, man.
Sounds good.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, so that was the amazing, fabulous, wonderful JanessaJaye Champagne.
It's a lot of fun.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just look for JanessaJaye Champagne. She's fabulous.
Based in
North Dakota.
Yes.
And as of the filming of this interview, it is still legal for her to perform.
Yes, but we're not sure what's going to be happening with that. And
yeah, it's just the world has gone insane, and that's why we really wanted to have her on. Yes. We've got a couple of reviews we're going to be working on this weekend, and an interview coming up next week that is super fascinating that I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah.
So until next time, catch you later. Hey everybody, welcome to Drunken Housewife Reviews. I'm Sarah, the Drunken Housewife.
And I'm her host / husband, Ian, who tries to keep her on the rails best I can.
And it's a full-time job, and it's really going to be a full-time job with tonight's guest, the fabulous, the one, the only, JanessaJaye Champagne. I feel like you need a theme song.
Except it's JanessaJaye Champagne.
Janessa, what did I say?
What did
you said,
just
Jessica?
Say?
We're going to start again. Starting again.
I think you can see Jessica Rabbit in the background.
Yeah, that's
okay. What I think I might do is put that little bit on the very end.
So
that mayhaps Sarah should not drink too much Bud Light. We're going to start again.